today, I want to talk about one of the coolest things in Bitcoin, at least in my opinion. And that is how those 12 words or 24 words, that's called a seed phrase or seed words, how they are actually generated. So how your wallet actually creates those words. And like I said, it's pretty cool. And it's actually not that hard. But it all begins, well, as a reminder, remember that a wallet in Bitcoin is not like a physical wallet that holds physical money. So it doesn't actually hold your money like a physical wallet holds cash or holds a credit card. A Bitcoin wallet holds your keys, your private key and your public key. So your public key is used to receive Bitcoin, and the private key is used to sign a transaction to prove that you own Bitcoin that you're trying to spend. So those keys are stored in your wallet. And because those keys are really long, complicated numbers, you want to back them up. But how do you back them up safely? Because you don't want to create a digital copy of those keys because that can be hacked. You want to create a physical copy and you want to write it down by hand. So it's really, really hard to write down a really long number by hand, these private keys, these public keys. So an ingenious method has been created called BIP39, Bitcoin Improvement Proposal number 39, to convert those keys into 12 words or 24 words. I'm just going to go with 12 words today. Now, it doesn't actually convert the keys. The keys are generated from, well, the public key is generated from the private key. And the private key is generated from another number, which is called the seed, and that number is generated from a random number. So it all begins with a random number, and that random number is going to be 128 bits long for a 12-word seed phrase, or 256 bits long for a 24-word seed phrase, but we'll just stick with the 12 words. So it all begins with a random number that's 128 bits, 128 zeros and ones, and everything is derived from that random number. That number is called the entropy. So that's the number you want to back up. But to write down a 128-bit number by hand is begging for a mistake, right? So that's where the BIP39 comes in. So what is done is that 128-bit number is run through a hash. So you hash it. Now, when you generate the hash, you're going to generate a 256-bit number because it's SHA-256 hashing. So you generate a 256-bit number, but we're only interested in the first four. So we take the first four digits of that SHA-256 hash, and we take those four digits and append them to the end of the 128-bit random number. So what is that for? That's going to serve as a checksum so that when you convert these to words and then put words into the wallet, it can kind of get an idea of whether you've made a mistake or not. So that's going to serve as a checksum. Okay, so you get the random number. And by the way, how do you get the random number? Flip a coin 128 times is one way to do it. But generally, we let software do it. You can use a random number generator, although honestly, that's not the best way to do it. Those things are not all that random, it turns out. So a method that I like is using grabbing information from a photograph. So a number of different devices will do this. The Seed Signer will do this, where you take a picture and then it takes information from the pixels and derives that random number. So the information from the pixels, depends on the lighting and the noise and the electronics and those sorts of things. So it really is a truly random number. So you get the random 128-bit number, maybe extracting that from a photograph, and then you hash it. You take the first four digits of the hash, append that to the end of the 128-bit number, and that gives you a 132-bit number, right? So 132 bits divided by 11 is 12. 132 divided by 11 is 12. So we're going to take our 128-bit number and divide it into 11-bit chunks. Now, the words, where do those words come from? They come from what's called the BIP39 word list. So there is a list of words. It is 2,048 words that are numbered 0 to 2047 because computers always start with 0. So there is a accepted list of words for BIP39. The first word is abandon, the second one is ability, the third one is able, and then so forth all the way down to zero, zone, and zoo as the last three. So we have 2,048 words numbered 0 to 2,047. Now the assignment of the word to a number is important here. So number 0 is abandoned. Number 1 is ability. And number 2045 is 0. And so it's important that the list of words is associated with a particular number. All right, so we take our 128-bit number, add the 4 bits, so it's a 132-bit number, divide it into 11-bit chunks. And so what we're going to do now is take the first 11 bits, convert that to a decimal. So in the example that I'm showing you here, the first 11-bit number converts to the decimal number 1,687, and the 1,687th word in the list is spot. So then spot becomes the first word. The second 11-bit chunk is decimal number 321. The 321st word in the list is chimney, and so that becomes the second word. The third 11-bit chunk is decimal number 593. The 593rd word in the list is energy, so that becomes the third word. And you're going to continue this process until you get all 12 words created. Now with those 12 words, you have this random number converted into words, which are much easier to write down with your hand on a piece of paper and store that away without making a mistake. You can even memorize those words if you need to in a pinch. And so you can memorize this random number by converting it to these 12 words. And then the computer, when you input these words into a wallet, it will just reverse engineer all of this. So it takes the 12 words, creates the 11 bit chunks, and so it recreates the 132-bit number. It takes off the 4 digits at the end, and then runs the other 128 bits through SHA-256, and then makes sure that the 4 digits that were at the end of the 132-bit number match the first 4 digits of your hashed 128-bit number to serve as a checksum to make sure there was no mistake. And that is how your seed words are created. Pretty cool.